What is up, guys? I've reached the end of my tether. I've got nothing. My daughter has had me up since 4 in the morning because fatherhood is a precious gift. Let's try and get through another paper review. First up to the FT this morning, who report that while the working and middle classes are struggling, don't worry because the rich and super rich are making obscene amounts of money. Yep, that's the feel-good story we were all looking for. You know, there's a lot of doom and gloom out there at the moment. It's important to be able to try to see the silver lining of things. And who can hope for a more glasses half full prism through which to view modern politics than the idea that rich people's assets and shares are exploding in value while the value of our cash, yours and mine, is endlessly eroded away by inflation. If you want a personal example of this, I recently got a pay raise at work. I'm fortunate enough to work for one of these companies where the pay increase, annual, is tied to inflation. So it actually went up by about 10%. And imagine my joy in early January when I was like, oh my God, I might actually get to the end of a month without going into the red. This is great. You see, it's not all doom and gloom. Eventually you get the pay increase and maybe you might just be able to make the ends meet. Then I just got a quote to renew our car lease, guys. And it turns out that to keep the same car, to renew our car lease, is going to be exactly the same amount a month more as I now earn thanks to my pay increase. So after a year of hard work, I am financially no better off. Nothing ever seems to improve. There's no hope anywhere. It's only 10 a.m, but I think I need a brandy. Next up to the Mail, Sir Keir is forced to axe Israel slur candidate. Yeah, this is a story that Ashar Ali guy who said the stuff about Israel allowing that attack to happen so that they would have reason to plow into Gaza. That guy has now had Labour HQ's support for him withdrawn. Now, I don't fully agree with everything that he said, and the leaked audio suggests that he already knew that it was going to, like, these sort of views might cause some kind of tumult. But as I said yesterday, I do think there's still legitimate questions to be asked about how far in advance Israel were warned about the attacks and how seriously they took those warnings. If Israel are denying that they were pre-warned, but Egypt and the US say that they did warn them, is Israel calling the US and Egypt liars? Or is Israel just lying that they were pre-warned and they were just really incompetent and there was an oversight there? Either way, like, you have to answer these questions, man. And we as a society, as a journo-political landscape, the least that we could do is ask them. Now, having said all of that, he did also suggest that there was something like, there's a line in there about like Jews in the media, which is, I mean, that is, that's a bit much. That does sound problematic. Next up to the Sun for a world exclusive. Oh, really? What's it going to be this time? Who have they picked to the post for this world exclusive scoop? Corey Ken's 550 grand tax bill. I mean, it's the Oxford-educated English graduates that I feel sorry for. People who went to the right private school, went up to Oxbridge, they graduated English language or journalism. They had dreams of working for The Guardian or The New York Times, getting scoops like Watergate or Assange, Diana interviews or the expenses scandal. But either through poor luck or stupidity, somehow they wind up at the News UK offices writing rubbish like this. Next to the Telegraph, Suella Braverman says don't make people feel guilty for being white. Oh, I know this one. I know that this is one of her hits, isn't it? Because, of course, this was the line that previously scored Suella Braverman the front page of The Express. That was at the NatCon conference or something, wasn't it? Suella, white people have nothing to feel guilty about. Which I think I said at the time. It's like, yeah, I know, we know. Like, I'm a white guy. I don't feel especially guilty about being Caucasian. The subject about race, politically speaking, in the UK is one about institutional racism, about ill-founded police methods like stop and search, about the fact that black people are significantly less likely to get called for an interview throughout the recruitment process, just on the basis of how their name sounds. That women of colour are statistically way more likely to die giving birth. Because when they complain or they put their hand up in the ward, then the nurses and the doctors see them as sort of troublemakers or complainers or aggressive. But even if we put all of the institutional racism stuff aside for a second, I feel like just focus on Suella for a minute here, just for a moment. Because Braverman got fired from cabinet twice. Braverman has broken international law. Braverman has broken domestic law with her speeding ticket. Braverman tried to wriggle out of doing the public speeding awareness course. Braverman said it was her dream, her obsession, to fly desperate refugees off to a third world country. Braverman described peaceful marches designed to highlight the plight of Gazans as hate marches. It was Braverman's rhetoric that whipped up Express readers and EDL followers into such a frenzy, it propelled the Cenotaph protection protests into nothing short of a riot. Like, Braverman is a fascist, lunatic sociopath. So if she stands up there and then goes, yeah, you guys have got nothing to feel guilty about. I'm always like, I know, yeah, we don't. You, on the other hand, love. Over to the Express, dementia could be predicted as early as 15 years before diagnosis. A staggering development that could leave the Express's readership pegged at net zero. And finally, we are actually going to round off with a good news story today. You ready? Like, there's a lot of doom and gloom out there. I said we had a little bit of silver lining, the rich are getting richer, and we should all be happy about that because of, trickle down economics and all that. But no, this is a really good, heartfelt, pick me up story. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Sarah killer stabbed in prison. Hey! Now look, I don't want to be sort of, mean or callous about the plight of another human being here, but I didn't want to be short either, and that's... you can't always get what we want. But this is the story that Roy Whiting, who murdered Sarah Payne about 25 years ago, has been physically attacked in the jail where he's serving his life sentence. And, there's much that we could say about this, about the, about what it says about the public's attitude to street justice or prisoner safety. Why aren't these prisoners being monitored? How did this assailant end up with a sharp object? Like, are these institutions so underfunded now and run by the prisoners that the people who are jailed there have actually no right to sort of a safe existence? We could look at it through each of those angles and prisms. But for me personally, I'm just gonna look at that and then I'm gonna fold it up and I'm gonna file it under the rarely heard upside to austerity. Guys, that's it from me. If you enjoy these paper reviews and you haven't checked out the podcast yet, do jump on there. There's 2 more episodes that have just come out in the last few days. If you fancy putting a tip in the tip jar, click the 3 buttons and there's a little super thanks thing, for which I would be super grateful. But for now, I have to go. Honestly, I have to run out the door. Otherwise, I'm going to lose a world exclusive scoop to the Sun because I've just had a tip off. I just had a tip that somewhere Peter Andre is opening a can of beans. I'm out. Peace.